We can see how inspiration works by playing a little game. You can begin by the start of a story. Write down a couple sentences such as this fish story to begin a story, and then ask those around you to write what happens next. When you compare, after just a couple of minutes' time, what happens next, you'll likely find that nobody has the same story. The story doesn't have the same ending depending on who writes it. Now, what do you think that would be like if there were 40 different writers for each story, and not just at one time, but over a period of about 1,600 years? Do you think that would result in a confusing story? But that is exactly how the Bible was written, and yet it has a consistent theme throughout and no inconsistencies between the various writers. This shows that the writers were guided to record the message God wanted them to record. There are additional books that are not in our Christian Bible. They are in the Catholic Bible, and they are called the Deuterocanon or the Apocrypha. They were not included in the Protestant Bible because some of them have information that contradicts what our Bibles say. So the Council of Carthage in AD 397 decided not to include them because they were not all consistent. This doesn't mean you can't read them. Some of them have accurate historical information, like the story of the first Hanukkah. And in fact, Jesus celebrated Hanukkah. It was called the Feast of Dedication in his time, and he celebrated it in John chapter 10, verse 22. Do you know what prophecy is? Prophecy is a prediction of a future event. Another way we can show the Bible is the Word of God and that it is real and we can trust it is that it correctly predicts the future. There are over 2,000 prophecies written in the Bible that have already come true since they were written. These prophecies involve both individual people and whole nations, and many are very specific. The Bible is the only book that can claim that it accurately tells the future. In Isaiah 44, verse 28, written in about 700 BC, God said that King Cyrus of Persia would carry out God's plans and make sure the temple would be rebuilt. This is over 100 years before King Cyrus was born. But in Ezra, chapter 1, verses 1 through 4, we have a written decree from King Cyrus himself telling the Jews to go home to Judah from Babylon, where they had been captives, and to rebuild their temple. That happened in 536 BC. There are also lots and lots of prophecies about Jesus written over 400 years before he was born. Some are that he would be born in Bethlehem, in the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 2, and Matthew, chapter 2, verse 1, and Luke, chapter 2, verses 4 through 7, show the fulfillment. That he would come at the right time in history was predicted in Daniel, chapter 9, 25, and 26, and is proved in Galatians, chapter 4, verse 4, and Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 10. That his mother would be a virgin, and that it would be a virgin birth. That is predicted in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, and Matthew 1, 18 through 25, and Luke 1, 26 through 35 show its fulfillment. The story of the events of Palm Sunday were prophesied in Zechariah 9, verse 9, and they were fulfilled in Matthew 21, verses 1 through 11. That his life would be sold for 30 pieces of silver was prophesied in Zechariah 11, 12, and 13, and the fulfillment was in Matthew 26, 15, and 27, 3 through 10. That he would be crucified on a cross with criminals was prophesied in Isaiah 53, 12, and was fulfilled in Matthew 27, 38, and Luke 23, 52, and 53. That he would be buried among the wealthy was written in Isaiah 53, 9, and fulfilled in Matthew 27, 57 through 60, and Luke 23, 52, and 53. And these are just some of the prophecies that Jesus fulfilled in his lifetime. One more way to know that God wrote the Bible is that it has been amazingly preserved over the years. For example, 1,500 years ago, a Roman emperor named Diocletian decided that he wanted Christianity to end. He ordered every Bible destroyed, burned, and then he even built a column over the ashes to celebrate his victory. It seems like that would be the end of the Bible, doesn't it? But 25 years later, a new emperor named Constantine had 50 new Bibles produced, and at that time, they were written by hand. In the 1700s, a man named Voltaire hated God. He predicted that by the end of 100 years, no more Bibles would be left on earth. Do you have a Bible in your home? Do you know someone who has a Bible? Have you ever seen a Bible? Can you pull up the Bible on your device, your phone or your tablet or your computer? Have you ever read the Bible? I have over 20 Bibles in different translations and styles in my home. It would seem that people have had a hard time destroying the Bible. Today, the Bible is printed in far more languages than any other book, and it is the best-selling book of all time.